Namaste and welcome. Rev those rocket engines. We're going right up. There he is. Our favorite. It's so fun when we see everyone and everyone has a little Jesus, the love for Jesus here. It's so good. So helpful. So grateful for that symbol in the holy mind of that unquestioning following, like following God. And not to make the form real. That's all he said. It's like, this is not real. And you can ask him, Jesus, do we have that power too? And just hear him say, yep, yes. I said, Jesus, can you say yep? He says, yes. He communicates that with us in the way that's most helpful. And it can be helpful to see him not so formal because of those little ideas. Here's what spirituality looks like, you know. And that was what was so joyous about Muji, you know, how he would laugh so joyfully at things. And you go to satsang and you would just laugh. To laugh away these ideas that we could be separate from God. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of joyful. It's beyond fun, you know, we're more than fun. Joy is like outstrips fun by eons, like light years. You'll realize fun is like an idea in the future when joy is what is right now. No taken number. So we continue on the Song of Prayer. And saying, Jesus, this is a really deep dive. I can hear him immediate. You start to hear him. Yes. This is necessary for you. He says, it's for me. It's necessary. It's helpful to dive this deeply. And he knows how much something about this song of, well, because he says it's natural. We recognize that there is truly a song within. That if it doesn't sing and sing and sing its praises to the absolute reality, then we're just really dinking around in hell, basically. And so I think we're pretty done with thinking. So yesterday we were talking about do not establish the form and that forgiveness would take. I'm asking him if he'll talk about exactly what that means. He says, let me decide for you. That's what he's saying. He says, let me decide the form that it takes for you so you can stay out of the conceptual idea of what forgiveness is. I'll show you that this always points to infinite love, to happiness and joy. It's just pointing, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this. Instead of saying, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. So let's just ask him because we can all hear him. Jesus, do I need you to show me the way to peace? And hear what he says. He says, you've lost your way, yet there is one here who would guide you gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Who knew that when we were 4 years old, we were already singing, life is but a dream? Who wrote that thing anyway? Give up all else, for there is nothing else. In the light of divine being, in honesty of God, is there anything other than light? Is there anything other than happiness? And see if the light ever tells you there's something other than happiness. He says, when you let me guide you, you will feel more sure. See, whenever we're unsure, that means we're not letting him guide us. Yes. There's a lot of lump comes in that. You can feel yourself dropping into that surety. And it's good to be like a little child and unsure and then just turn to him, turn to him. Yes, he says, because then the mind's really open to his instructions. Be like little children so we can be educated on what true forgiveness is. I said, Jesus, true forgiveness is speedy forgiveness, isn't it? See, it doesn't hold on to anything. Merciful forgiveness is oopsie daisy. Let me see that a new way. It's like you can't even get those sentences out, and the light would come in and poof that away. It's that little grabbing mechanism within consciousness to hold on, to hold that grievance, to deny light. Your word sincere, not with your own sincerity, but with his own. Yeah, I can see this is the only way we'll rest if we're speaking his words. We're speaking our words. That's just that comes out of personal identity. We want to speak as infinite. I mean, it's not to put on the as infinite show. I mean, it's just to hear his words and speak them because it's where they come from. It's who's speaking those words. Is there some little contracted idea, little cartoon character that speaks of pain and dust and dying and death and sacrifice, and when is this awakening going to be over? He says, see that it's now, actually. I'm with you till the end of time, he says. He says, and let that be quick. I think I told the story. You can see it in the notes. I was typing and I said, I don't know, something like, because I've asked him, Jesus, is there any way to like speed this up? And he said, you want to speed up what never happened. You know that comes from him because I'm going to come up like that. The ego wants to speed up what never happened. It likes to be involved in spiritual awakening so it can drag it out. So we can wait one more day to see that we're light and that we're already forgiven by God. I love you, Muji. Why not today? Muji says, why not today? We are reading down in Forgiveness for Salvation, S2D3. And we just were finishing up talking about S2333, S2 Roman letters 3, and then the number 3. Let him take charge of how you would forgive. That's a good thing to remember. I didn't remember that today. And it's good to be reminded often. He said, yes, it is, because it's turning over more and more to him in the atonement and the speed he offers. Like, as we've said before, he knows where the bones are buried. And for a while I was talking, I asked him I could talk about it today, a metal detector on the beach. You turn it on and you follow it down the beach. You don't spend your time arguing with the metal detector when it's going to beep and how it beeps and how loud. You just turn it on. You have to first turn it on and then be willing to follow it. And then he'll take you right to the spots on the beach where the gold is buried. In our case, the denial of divinity is buried, so we can release it to the light. It's like, where in the catacombs am I hiding, trying to hide from myself? So it feels really good to I'm asking him. Yes, he's saying yes, to feel the weariness, like that bone dead weariness of self-imprisonment. So we have some idea of the true cost, because we keep thinking it's a cost to see that we're light. But we never really, in honesty of God, admit the real cost of being the experience of separation. It's like it's so well hidden underneath pleasure and I can make it another day, Jesus, and all the but Jesuses. So maybe we can ask him, okay, Jesus, will you just, is that helpful? He says, yes. Show me how weary I truly am of this self-imprisonment, so I can't hide it from myself. This is uncompromising looking. Not so that it's not self-punishment, it's just to see the weight upon our holy minds, to hold that big 1,000-ton brick, like he says in the New Covenant, Atlas had the world on his shoulder. Just set it down. It's not yours to carry. The world's not ours to carry. What you have chosen still can be undone, for prayer is merciful and God is just. Now, we've been speaking about this justice of God. We really have to see past our concept of justice. In the U.S. court system, justice is finding the one who's guilty and punish them. We really have to see, Jesus, do I have a desire for an experience of justice of this world? Or am I willing to see that there's no heaven in the justice of this world? There's only pain and suffering. Illusions are untrue. God's will is truth, and you're one with him in will and purpose. Here, all dreams are done. What should I do for him? Your holy son should be the only thing that you ever ask when help is needed and forgiveness sought. Jesus, will you remind me of the sentence? How can I serve your son? That's serving the whole. That's serving love, like God loves. God loves by serving the whole with his love. The form the seeking takes, you need not judge. And let it not be you who sets the form in which forgiveness comes to save God's son. So we can't decide how, as soon as we're deciding a form of forgiveness for someone, there's a someone else. So we can just speak. All we can do is listen to his words and speak. He'll give us the words that's most helpful. We just speak them. And all kinds of things may arise. Just keep listening, speaking, listening, speaking, listening. What do you want me to say now? Is that what you want me to say? Yeah. Okay. Practicing and practicing and practicing in the light circles over and over and over again till we admit this is what's most natural to us. This other kerfuffle stuff. You need to see how it really hurts, because the way the ego plays is going to stretch out pain on over time, and we're wanting to play the time lottery. I'm just going to pretend I can extend this baby out, as we were talking about this morning, that going back to trying to keep one foot on the dock and one foot in the boat that's going into heaven. It can't be done. The two don't meet. See that in the light of divine being. Does the ego exist in the light of divine being? So like Tony Robbins would say, you got to burn the bridges. No plan B. The only plan is God's plan. And then you burn all the other bridges. And I just said there's not another way, Jesus, is there? No. Because as soon as a little thought arises that, well, we'll make a little compromise of ourselves. Compromise holiness. Do you but listen, for he will be heard by anyone who calls upon his name and places forgiveness in his hands. He has to show us where that forgiveness is needed. Where is there a desire? So I'm asking, this is the way of forgiveness given by him for me. And if we don't let him lead forgiveness all the way, we'll stay in the concept about what forgiveness is and what awakening is, rather than step back and let him lead the way and then have that comfort, like be comforted. Okay, this is a reminder for me to remember he's here to comfort. Forgiveness has been given him to teach, to save it from destruction, to make the means the means for separation, sin, and death become again the holy gift of God. Prayer is his own right hand, made free to save, as true forgiveness is allowed to come from his eternal vigilance and love. Listen and learn and do not judge. This is really learning just to drop the interpretive function in consciousness. It's just an interpretive play. But we can ask him, Jesus, is the interpretive play real? He'll tell us it's not. It is to God you turn to hear what you should do. His answer will be clear as morning, nor is his forgiveness what you think it is. Once again, zero. Jesus, I don't have any idea. I don't want to have any idea what forgiveness is. So I can just start from ground, nada, and let you teach me. It's acceptance of holiness. Still does he know, and that should be enough. Forgiveness has a teacher who will fail in nothing. Rest a while in this. Do not attempt to judge forgiveness or to set it in an earthly frame. Let it arise to Christ, who welcomes it as his gift to him. He will not leave you comfortless, nor fail to send his angels down to answer you in his own name. You can ask him, Jesus, is he sending angels? And you hear his answer. He says they're always with you. But you can ask Jesus so you can know it directly. He stands beside the door to which forgiveness is the only key. Give it to him to use instead of you, and you will see the door swing silently open upon the shining face of Christ. Behold your brother there beyond the door, the Son of God as he created him. Hey, Jesus, I'm going to give all forgiveness over you. I don't want to know anything about it. I'm just going to ask you. He says, then you can rest really and know that it's going to be handled. It's really when the ego gets involved, isn't it? That it starts, we get discombobulated and we don't know what we're doing. And all we have to know is that if we ask Jesus, he's going to help us, show us what form forgiveness needs to take to be the fastest route home. We just bring willingness and the admission that we're not at peace. And that could be the hardest thing because the ego doesn't like to admit it's not at peace. It'll go, I'm fine. And it usually says, I'm fine about 3 or 4 times, which is just an immediate little red flag that David would talk about that. Now you start to understand how it'll play that little game of I'm fine. But that's how it flips it. I'm fine, meaning I'm fine here in hell. So now we go to S3 healing, introduction. Prayer has both aids and witnesses which make the steep ascent more gentle and more sure, easing the pain of fear and offering the comfort and promises of hope. Feels like a good lesson to get, doesn't it? Forgiveness is witnesses, an aid to prayer, a giver of assurance of success in ultimate attainment of the goal is healing. Its importance should not be too strongly emphasized, for healing is a sign or symbol of forgiveness's strength and only an effect or shadow of a change of mind about the goal of prayer. Cause of sickness. Do not mistake effect for cause, nor think that sickness is apart and separate from what is caused, its cause must be. It is a sign, a shadow of an evil thought that seems to have reality and to be just according to the usage of the world. It is external proof of inner sins and witnesses to unforgiving thoughts that injure and would hurt the Son of God. Sickness is a sign, a shadow of an evil thought that seems to have reality and to be just, according to the usage of the world. It is external proof of inner sins at witnessing. Let's just ask them about that. Jesus, is all sickness external proof? Am I using any form of sickness in external proof that I have sinned, that I'm a sinner? So any kind of sickness or pain is trying to prove I'm a sinner. You can hear his answer, yes. I said, is it trying to win our way to heaven through sickness? He said, yes. See that that's impossible. You cannot use hell to get heaven, but the ego tries to play like you can. It is external proof of inner sins and witnessing to unforgiving thoughts that injure and would hurt the Son of God. Healing the body is impossible, and this is shown by the brief nature of the cure. The body yet must die, and so its healing but delays its turning back to dust where it was born and will return. He's just pointing me back to asking him to show the underlying conditions under symptoms that seem to show up in a body. So I'm talking to him about all the emphasis on healing bodies. That's what this world does. We're going to take everybody to the hospital. I mean, he's not saying any of that's bad. Our function is to see no error in the world and then look within and see where love's denied. And that is just the biggest stone in the bush. Something happening to the body. That's why the tack is in the body. And then we, through the play of consciousness, pretend like we don't know it's a desired experience. So again, we need to see the whole thing is just, oh, it's a boo-boo of thought. I'm not thinking clearly. And then look to see what's true, that the body cannot get sick. It's an idea. It's a concept that arises in the mind that the body can be sick. The body's cause is unforgiveness of the Son of God. So let's just ask him so we can all be clear on what the cause of the body is. It has not left its source, and in its pain and aging and the mark of death upon it, this is clearly shown. Fearful and frail it seems to be to those who think their life is tied to its command and linked to its unstable tiny breath. Death stares at them. I just asked them if I can talk about the time. You can see it in some of the videos too, where I started asking him about breath. Is there guilt in breath? And he told me yes, to look at the guilt in breath. Is that helpful? He says yes. So we can see what a heavy burden we've put upon ourselves for having a body, yet he would translate it so that we're in the happy dream. That we see we're not subject to the whims of the body. Whether we breathe or not, we know where happiness is eternal. Fearful and frail it seems to be to those who think their life is tied to its command and linked to its unstable tiny breath. Death stares at them as every moment goes irrevocably past their grasping hands, which cannot hold them back. And they feel free as bodies change and sicken, for they sense the heavy scent of death upon their hearts. The body can be healed as an effect of true forgiveness. Only that can give remembrance of immortality, which is the gift of holiness and love. We can never heal what dies. I'm talking to him about that's a big distraction to try to heal the body because it's based on fear. When we're emphasizing healing the body, we're emphasizing fear. We're motivated. The motivation is fear, the fear of death. It's like it's at the wrong level. We'll be in the wrong. We're too far. We're too deep in the dream bubble when we heal the body. We have to heal at the level of the mind, and he has to tell us. He said he would reveal those things below our level of awareness. Yes, they can express through pain seemingly in a body, but it is such a big fat stone in the bush, these body symptoms. He's saying yes. And I could see that because the ego would keep you chasing body symptoms nonstop. He says yes. Okay. And I could see that in the play of consciousness, another symptom. It was really helpful once I was really listening to his voice and asking him, like, I need your help. Can you show me? Okay, is this okay? Do I need to spend time on this? I think I told, it was hilarious. I kept stubbing my toes, He was telling me how it's desired experience, but it's him controlling what needs to be forgiven. Yes, of course, if we have a concern about something appearing in the body, it's good to sit down and talk to Jesus about it. That's what he's here for, to help comfort us, but not for us to decide, okay, how am I going to forgive this or get rid of it? The ego will play sickness to try to, quote unquote, get rid of it, while the secret code of the ego is trying to keep it, to prove the body's real. So we need Jesus to tell us, yes, Jesus, these symptoms seem to be appearing in form. Will you help me? Is this a good thing? Is this most helpful to look at? And I'm asking him right now, and sometimes he may tell you no, and don't be surprised, because he's the one who knows how forgiveness has to happen. It really builds that trust. And then you'll find some things I've asked him about, do I need to spend any time on this? And he'll say no. And then the next thing, I'm not even remembering that was there, that symptom, quote unquote. There's all kinds of body symptoms, because that's the dive into the bubble, is to keep a bunch of body symptoms to prove that God is dead. I'm talking to him, the best use of time, which is what he always says, is to spend time with him to show us the underlying conditions. And he says, yes, show me the underlying conditions, which are desires for the experience. And as I've said, when he started showing me, I was looking at pain, headaches, and whatever these pains in the body were, and started looking and could see that little relish devil down in there, how it was really a desired experience. That is very illuminating, because we can't look at pain quite the same way when it's a desired experience. It's like, I'm desiring this, aren't I? And Jesus goes, yep. Okay. Then we can let him lead the way through the looking in the mind, not look toward the body to relieve symptoms. See, he's trying to get us out of the whole body altogether and look at the conditions in the mind, the decision in the mind to have that experience. That's the path to freedom with him. And they feel fear as bodies change and sicken. So he's really taking us outside of the body to look within the mind with him. Can we think of a time in the play of consciousness that we weren't at some point unsatisfied, quote unquote, with the body form, what it looked like, the mole on our forehead, how our toes crook off to the left? It's an endless source of, he says, turn this over to me. So it's a good thing. Turn the body over to me. The body can be healed, but he's not mincing words to say that true forgiveness can heal the body. And then the body reflects the healed mind. See, we heal at the level of the mind, and then the body will reflect that out. That's his promise to us, perfect health in the body. Only that can give a remembrance of immortality, which is the gift of holiness and love. Forgiveness must be given by a mind which understands that it must overlook all shadows on the holy face of Christ, among which sickness should be seen as one, a shadow. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. It's just a shadow. These are shadows. All I was hearing when he was talking, when I heard that, was the valley of death. I didn't really hear the shadow part. It's a shadow. It's not real. Nothing but that, the sign of judgment made by a brother upon a brother and the Son of God upon himself. I'm asking him, Jesus, is it good? Yes, it's a grievance. What grievance am I holding on with respect to this body symptom? It's a piece of personal identity. He's reminding me of that. He told me that. He said, this is all pain is a piece of personal identity being held on to. I'm asking him, all illness, piece of personal identity held on to. The desire for an experience to feel separate from God, that God has abandoned us. So we have to heal the desire for the experience of abandonment, and then the symptoms will go away. He says, see that these symptoms are not more powerful than you are. And that's what the play is. The play is to feel subject to a body rather than to see the miscreation of a body. Nothing but that, the sign of judgment made by a brother upon a brother and the Son of God upon himself. Jesus, if there are symptoms in the body, am I doing those to myself? And hear his answer. That's why we're not the ones to help ourselves out of the forest. As I've said, it's like that would be like the fox watching over the hen house. We have to turn it over to him and ask him to lead the way. But to see that we're doing it to ourselves, that's honesty of God. God, Jesus, am I responsible for the decision to have all the body symptoms that appear? Is that fair to ask? Yes. Am I responsible for every one of them? Not in responsibility that you're going to be beaten up for them or God judges you, just to see that it's the choice within consciousness to have a play, a little play like we're a body. That is the gateway to happiness. That's what the ego doesn't want to admit. It's going, it's hands off, face of innocence. I didn't do anything. Look at the, you know. But the direct route is to have Jesus, to listen to him and go, Jesus, am I choosing this? And I do that periodically. I look around and go, I made that, didn't I? You go, yep. It's just helpful. For he has damned his body as his prison and forgot that it is he who gave the role to it. So we can take a deep breath in, notice that we're light, infinite light of being. Okay, let's just take the light test on this one. Honesty of God. Jesus, have I damned my body as my prison? I'm willing to see it. And then ask for a miracle that I feel it's a value to damn my body as my prison. Can I have a miracle for that? So much love comes. And forgot that it is he who gave this role to it. Okay, so let's just ask so we can hear it inside. Jesus, did I give my body this role as my prison? Okay, let's ask him this. Jesus, do I relish my body as a prison? Do I relish it? Just really relish the body as a prisoner and feeling prisoner of a body. When you get that yes, it's like, you know, you need his help. Will you help me out, Jesus? And help me see through the desire to give this role of a prison to the body. He said, I would translate that. That's this whole function of a course, to retranslate the body to be used in purpose with the spirit. What he has done now must God's Son undo, but not alone. For he has thrown away the prison's key, his holy sinlessness, and the remembrance of his Father's love. Yet help is given him in the voice his Father placed in him. Our voice, the voice that we speak every time we join. The power to heal is now his Father's gifts. For through his voice, he still can reach his Son, reminding him the body may become his chosen home, but it will never be his home in truth. Let's ask Jesus. Jesus, is the body my home in truth? Did I desire an experience? Do I desire an experience in which the body feels like my home, more my home than my real home? And you can hear the yes. It was like, that was immediate. He said, you think heaven is in a body. So let's ask him, Jesus, do I think that heaven comes through being in a body? Can I get a miracle on the perception that being in a body is heaven? Can I give that over to you? He says, and it's best to do that quickly. I said, Jesus, what's the proper way to look at the body? He says, with me. He says, let me interpret it for you. You're not capable of interpreting what a body's for. Did I say that? He said, yeah, that's exactly what he wants to say. Okay. You have to admit that you're not capable of knowing what a body is for or how to use the body, because you're so used to misuse of a body to try and prove separation. You have to give it to me. You'll be happier if you give it to me and cease to have all these little worries and tribulations over a body. You can stay out of the coronavirus kerfuffle. I was asking him, I'm asking him, like, I can hear a yes already, you kind of know the answer after a while, after dealing with Jesus. And I was asking him about how I had just all these physical symptoms right after I was started doing the course. I didn't see they were associated with needing to look at deep grievances. And that's all they were. They were just expressions of deep grievances below the level of awareness, trying to come into awareness. So we can either try to go and treat them with a pill, or we can just kind of, Jesus, show me the underlying conditions of these. It's so illuminating just to ask him on all body symptoms. It's just so helpful. It's so much more relaxing. Otherwise, we will feel beat up by the body because of the desire for the experience to feel beat up. It's such a watershed to see that these symptoms are desired and to admit them, because then he can really help us. That's the experience here. Really move in and start releasing all the energy that makes the misperception that the body's real and that we can be harmed. So thank you, Jesus. I am not a body. I am free. I am as God created me. Amen. Sending love. San Juan Kosala. Just a reminder for the chapter 20, folks, we will be meeting on Saturday at 2 for you to share your experiences talking to Jesus through chapter 20 and ask questions and speak the voice for God. See you tomorrow.